The story begins as armed troops descended on a snow-covered, abandoned apartment tower, while strange, twisted monsters snarled at the sky. A single human being emerges from the debris. As the troops on the bridge prepare to fire, a helicopter overhead watches him as he stumbles through the snow, blood-stained. Despite many blasts to the chest, he calmly shakes them off and keeps going. We then travel back in time a month to discover that the world has changed dramatically. Lush greens swallow the landscape as crickets sing in the background. Our main character, Cha Hyun-soo, has arrived in town, and he lives alone. He sits in darkness upstairs in his flat, the drapes blowing and police sirens playing outside. Hyun-soo ultimately climbs to the rooftop and looks over the edge, wondering if he should simply die. But he is distracted by Lee Yeon-yu, a girl across the apartment block from him, who is dancing and rehearsing her ballet steps. That is, until she enters with chewing gum. After talking to Hyun-soo about his actions, she advises him not to die as it would cause everyone problem in this building. The security guy gets lectured by his boss for the bed he has put up in the office. He gets in box with the assertion that the fish inside is for someone who lives there. As he opens the container, his nose instantly begins to bleed. After patching things up, he welcomes Hyun-soo as he returns to his room. But not before he offers over a bottle of beer as an apology. Something is plainly wrong with him, and Hyun-soo notices it, peering through the peephole to see what he's doing. Meanwhile, Jae-soo waits in her room smoking before she leaves for work. She waits for the elevator with a bass guitar on her back when she encounters another tenant, a really weird lady with a stroller with no kid inside. As Jung Jae-hoon presents himself to her in the corridor, Jae-soo quickly discovers that she is grieving. He teaches Korean, but is also deeply religious. We encounter many other tenants here, including Paeon Sang-wook, who appears shady and smokes in his flat while abusing someone on the floor. Wrapped in tape, this guy strains to breathe while Sang-wook stubs his cigarette in his mouth. Meanwhile, Hyun-soo finds that he has been chosen to be a tester for an upcoming game remake. He's been advised to go to G Tower on August 25th to make it happen. As destiny would have it, that's the date he has marked as suicide on his calendar. That evening, Hyun-soo goes out to pick up his box but instead discovers blood on the floor, a breadcrumb trail of noodles, and a lady crying for help. Hyun-soo hides back into his room before finally speaking to his neighbor at the door. She informs him that her cat has left and begs him to open up. When he wants to see her arms, she loses control and scurries away, blood pouring from her nose. When Hyun-soo goes outside, he discovers that the girl has left. Instead, he passes out on the floor in front of Sang-wook, who is outside Jae-soo's door, and manages to bend the metal as well. Unsure what else to do, she takes a baseball bat. With the security guard gone, the doors closed, and a murderer on the loose, the residents meet in the main atrium to figure out what to do next. They eventually make it inside the manager's office, where fireman Yae-kyung calls the emergency services, but they are all fully occupied. They open the main gates by accident when the phone lines go down and the emergency lights is triggered. That's probably not the smartest move, as they discover a bizarre monster right outside their door. As its mouth opens wide and begins bashing through the glass with a twisting tentacle, Yeon Hyuk grabs a fire extinguisher and takes command, instructing them to shut the shutters and hold the thing at bay. It's a close call for a while as Jae-kyung pushes the creature back barely in time before it catches them. As they regroup, they learn the outside world has been destroyed by the creatures who have taken control. As one of the monsters growls, they understand that the world has truly gone to hell. Meanwhile, Hyun-soo begins bleeding terribly from his nose. In a flashback, we see Hyun-soo at home, with scars on his arm that appear to indicate self-harm. He continues to play video games, ignoring his mother's request to go on a family trip. His attitude is plainly separating the family, but while they dispute in the car, his father begins bleeding severely from the nose and passes out, causing the car to crash. Hyun-soo, the lone survivor in his family, is granted 30 million won, but complains about the small amount of money he has left behind. Back in the present, as Sang-wook gets attacked on the stairway by the insane girl from earlier. After chewing a piece off of his back, he beats the girl and leaves. Meanwhile, Soo-young assists Yae-kyung in moving the dead body from the corridor and later sends a picture of him to his family. But down in the basement, Jae-soo discovers a security guard laughing and screaming out for Manager Han. As blood runs down his face, she reflexively hits him before Yeon Hyuk protects her. In the middle of all this chaos, the inhabitants get an emergency transmission confirming what is going on outside. As they check the news, they find that this epidemic has spread throughout the country, and they are currently in damage control mode. The thing on the steps rises up again, twisting and contorting as it continues to climb the stairs toward the other inmates. The gang gathers in the main atrium to decide what to do and whether or not to regroup on the 7th level. Fighting inevitably breaks out as everyone begins to argue on the best path ahead. The appearance of Sang-wook quickly alters the dynamics of the room. Given that he has been bitten, the other occupants run before he is tasered and put out on the ground. 8 hours later, Hyun-soo is fighting to keep his nose from bleeding. He goes online and finds many people discussing this condition and calling it a curse. Nobody seems to know where it came from, and considering how quickly it is spreading, it is impossible that they will find a cure that does not result in many deaths. Unfortunately, the internet connection is broken and shuts down before he has a chance to explore more. Hyun-soo accidentally let the monster into his room, which now resembles a huge gremlin. It appears to have heightened hearing and is missing half its head. It's a stressful situation, to say the least, as it stumbles around the room while Hyun-soo maintains his composure long enough to witness the monster stagger away. With Sang-wook tied up and held behind shutters, Sung-won goes to Suk-hyun for answers, since he is now their provisional leader. He enters with a knife and a gas mask, intending to attack Sang-wook, but hesitates. Sang-wook takes a long enough interval to headbutt Suk-hyun in the face. Meanwhile, Jae-han and Jae-soo discover the battered guy inside the elevator. The former is definitely aware that he is Sang-wook's hostage, but chooses to remain silent for the time being. Armed with a hammer, he joins them on their search. Meanwhile, the remainder of the group are discussing whether to go and make a move on the childcare center or to stay for the time being. Although the director Jin-ok is opposed to the plan, Yeon Hyuk calmly dismisses her argument and ultimately walks away. A resident hangs himself in one of the rooms, triggering horrible memories for Jae-soo, who recalls seeing a person from her past doing the same thing. Whoever it was left a post-it note informing her that the instrument is now hers. Hyun-soo makes a courageous choice to help a resident of the apartment below. A massive eyeball hooked to a tentacle moves up the structure and wraps around him, squeezing him hard. This allows his neighbor Do-sik enough time to detach the eyeball and save Hyun-soo's life before it is too late. They agree to work together to save the children. Knowing that his phone might attract monsters, he prepares to go and meets Do-sik at his flat. It turns out he's in a wheelchair and has a fairly useful collection of tools. However, he advises Hyun-soo against confronting monsters front-on and urges him to play carefully. This takes the appearance of a bouncing ball, which serves as a diversion for the half-headed gremlin monster. Hyun-soo sneaks up behind the monster and electrocutes it with his homemade spear. Meanwhile, Suk-hyun enters the convenience shop, where Yae-kyun also happens to be present. The food at this shop is practically all they have left, and Yae-kyun and Yeon Hyuk are fully aware of this. In fact, both of them begin to plan out how to ration the food and make it last if they are going to be confined in there for a long time. Suk-hyun, however, is unwilling to share anything. Meanwhile, Hyun-soo races down the corridor, reaching the two children just as they realize their father has died. Unfortunately, Hyun-soo's health deteriorates and he begins bleeding excessively from the nose again, only this time his eyes are dark. Again, a flashback to Hyun-soo's family trip. He's in the car, telling his parents they should die. Of course, all of this is a horrible dream, and when the shadow form of himself stares menacingly back at him in a mirror, Hyun-soo wakes up with a shock. But he still has blackened eyes. This gets worse by the appearance of another monster in the flat, destroying the walls and attempting to kidnap the children. Jae-soo and Jae-han hear the ruckus and rush up behind Hyun-soo to try to take out the monster. They bring Hyun-soo to safety, but his blacked eyes quickly disappear. He begs them both for help since blood runs down his mouth. Unfortunately, the blind gremlin monster from earlier reappears, but the two children make it to safety before he captures them. Both monsters begin assaulting each other, and with them both preoccupied, the children rush up to room 1408. Unfortunately, they are not alone, as the huge monster chases them. But Myung-suk arrives with her empty stroller. She swiftly takes a blow in the face for her troubles. With Myung-suk on the ground, a wonderful moment of acceptance floods over her as she notices her happy baby on the floor next to her. As she grins faintly, this monster slams a fist into her body. The gang works together and distracts the monster long enough to go to Do-sik's place. Myung-suk, who appears to have healed, makes it as well, recovering from the same black-eyed sickness as Hyun-soo. Jae-han leads the enormous monster to the window, where it lunges at him and falls out to its death. Presumably, anyhow. Sang-wook patches up his shoulder while he watches the news and notices a report about the current monster plague. The president, bleeding from the lips, attempts to maintain order, but as he stumbles and begins muttering incoherently, bullets stop the broadcast. This worsens the panic. That terror shows itself when Suk-hyun locks himself inside the convenience shop and refuses to let anyone else in. The resident from room 802 arrives with a suitcase filled with food. He gives it to everyone, but the presence of blood on the liner raises worries for some of those to whom he serves food. In room 1408, the crew takes a little break and reflects on their time together, wondering what they'll do next. Hyun-soo eventually admits to being infected and forms a contract with Jae-soo that if any of them turns, the other would be killed. They all make it through the night until Dan Hyuk goes on the broadcast in the morning and advises everyone to go up to the first floor, where it's safe. Only Jin-ok notices her daughter racing toward the apartment building, which throws all of the residents into a tailspin over what to do at the front doors. Soo-young runs outside, but a whipping tentacle extends and impales both him and Jin-ok's daughter, draining their life force and leaving them. With 2 people dead and the residents in chaos, Jin-ok blames Eun Hyuk for what is happening. He is completely shocked as well, and he tries to keep the residents calm. Meanwhile, Jisoo and Jae-han leave in the morning, equipped with a homemade shield created from a cupboard door to defend themselves. Just before they depart, Hyun-soo chooses to accompany them after the 2 children thank him for saving them. The date is August 18th, and this is officially day 4 of confinement. The many residents start working together to carry homemade boards and barriers for the passageways underneath. Jae-kyung gets an extremely close encounter with a monster in the vents that resembles the Licker from Resident Evil. She manages to extricate herself from its huge tentacle, but finds herself trapped and separated from her phone when Sangwon rings. She eventually returns to Eun Hyuk, but she berates him for being aware of the creature lurking nearby. As she staggers away, air raid sirens sound as we learn more about what is occurring in Korea. A news report says that the military would be in charge of all security and civic matters from now on. They're not sure how the virus is spread, but they do know some important things. These monsters have amazing regeneration powers, but the soldiers state that there is a point known as the golden hour when they may be destroyed by burning. Right now, this appears to be the only way to stop their menace. The soldier wishes them luck before the broadcast ends. Hyun-soo continues to experience terrifying dreams before waking up in Yeon-yu's chamber. Eun Hyuk is also present, and he tells Hyun-soo that things will become worse from here. That harshness gets worse when he walks out to the main atrium, where the rest of the residents are. Suk-hyun want to get rid of Hyun-soo, viewing him as a danger to their livelihood, but they all finally agree to vote on his destiny. It continues right down to the wire until the final note is confirmed to be invalid. Suk-hyun becomes infected and begins bleeding excessively from his nose. When he wakes up, he finds himself in solitude with Hyun-soo. Jae-kyung, on the other hand, develops an unsettled stomach. Jisoo consoles Jin-ok, who is mourning the death of her daughter, as she attempts to make sense of what has happened. Jae-soo goes to the restroom and notices a baseball bat lying on the wall. This brings back memories of the past as we realize that the kid who helped her is also the owner of the instrument. Back in the present, Sang-wook continues on the quest for the room 802 resident he previously tortured. Sang-wook knocks him down until the kid runs away, urging the others to keep him locked up for the time being. This places him in the same room with Hyun-soo and Suk-hyun. He approaches Hyun-soo and asks how he can become a monster like him, just as Hyun-soo begins to express his own fears. Up in the flats, Do-sik unlocks the bathroom door only to see a large sack containing a kid. With a gun in hand, he stays shocked by what he has witnessed and thinks of his next step. Eun Hyuk calls Hyun-soo and takes him out. It turns out he'll be doing all of the dangerous jobs from now on, including finding Do-sik and rescuing him from his current situation. As we return to Do-sik, he thinks over the restroom, which becomes more difficult as he recalls Myung-suk's story about her daughter. Eventually, he chooses to close the door and stay put for now. Eun Hyuk finally backs up Sang-woon, who is determined to return to the main area of the apartment complex. Hyun-soo pauses after opening the locked door, while Sang-wook moves on. Eun Hyuk's comments weigh hard on him, especially when he tells Hyun-soo to save Do-sik and that the children are secondary. It's freezing, but he works with Eun-yu on it, assuring her that Hyun-soo may be their most powerful weapon in the next fight. It also turns out that the previous vote was completely legitimate and not faked as he had intended. As they converse, An-suk cites a crew blog he saw online, notably a post about how this isn't an illness, but rather a curse. At the top, Sang-wook and Hyun-soo team up to navigate the burning rooms as a lightning-fast monster with a throbbing heart approaches and begins hunting them. Fortunately, 2 new characters join the fight, a crossbow-wielding girl named Yu Rai and her elderly patient. Sang-wook goes up to room 802 and starts going through Sung-jae's stuff. Using the keys he took previously, Sang-wook sees photos of different children being beaten and displayed on the wall, and it's clear why this man was beaten so brutally. Hyun-soo, Jae-soo, and the elderly guy make it to the apartment carrying Do-sik. Inside, Han-suk notices the sack in the bathroom and considers his next steps. Meanwhile, Sang-wook walks down to the basement but is caught off guard by Sung-jae, who repeatedly bashes him over the head with a hammer. Sung-jae eventually gets what he deserves as Sang-wook beats this man to a pulp. Carrying his lifeless body to the front, he raises the shutters, lowers the hammer, and drags Sung-jae out. He closes the shutters, but Eun Hyuk is there, holding him up to keep him inside. In this brave move, Sang-wook drags Min-ju and Soo-won inside. The residents gather to pay their respects and give the duo a proper funeral. Yae-kyung vows to face her problems alone. As she leaves, the remainder of the residents wonder what it means to be human and whether this curse is simply the next stage in evolution. In a flashback, Sang-wook got hired to take down Sung-jae. Despite his first rejecting, a photo of a little child and a father convinced him to rethink his decision. Back in the present, Sang-wook grabs Uri by the neck as he wakes up with a start. He quickly lets go, but it's clear that the squad is split on whether he should be allowed to stay in the apartment building or not. But Jin-ok expresses his gratitude by presenting him with a necklace. Sang-wook's final step in ridding himself of Sung-jae's memories is to bury his keys in the ground beside the two graves. Given that he was hired to discover the girl, Sang-wook is filled with regret, to the point where he requests Jae-hun to pray for him. While the majority of the people start making traps, Yae-kyung goes off alone. We cut back to June 2020, when she is working and flirting with chief physician Sang-won. This man happens to be her fiancé, and in another flashback from July of that year, Yae-kyung asks in vain to return to a fire to discover any casualties. When she is denied that honor, she returns her badge and quits. Back in the present, Yae-kyung runs away on her bike as Eun Hyuk and Jae-hun sit and speak. It turns out that Jae-hun was an alcoholic before turning to religion, which helped him get through his tough time. For the time being, the residents implement 3 simple survival guidelines, such as traveling in groups and having their temperature monitored every night at 8 p.m. While the majority of the residents agree with the guidelines, Do-sik is unhappy with the way Han-soo is being used as a weapon. For the time being, Han-soo is serving as an errand boy, going into various rooms to gather items for the residents. Meanwhile, Suk-hyun begins to transform into a monster with hair dripping all the way to the floor. He shuffles forward like a hideous cousin-it before ordering his wife to kill him. Sun-young readily agrees and begins repeatedly banging an iron pipe over his skull. All those years of torture, both mental and physical, are unleashed in one rapid move of blood-soaked revenge. Yae-kyung makes it to Sang-won's office, where it is discovered that the Crew blog is his. He's been drafting a report on the curse, and as she reads the lines, she glances up to see his forces standing over her. They grab her and take Yae-kyung away. Back at the apartment, Han-soo is still haunted by the monsters in his thoughts. When he awakens, Eun-yu is watching over him and finds the scars on his arms. She helps him patch up and ultimately leaves him with the plasters to do the job on his own. Eun Hyuk enters the room and chats with him about the monster problem. He wants them to discover a method to survive, and they're not sure how long it takes to fully transform into a monster. Based on what we learned earlier from the Crew article, it appears to be 15 days. Meanwhile, the soldiers are holding Yae-kyung up from the ceiling, questioning her about what she has read. Instead, she tries to negotiate with them, promising to show them someone who is fighting becoming a monster. As we soon observe, Han-soo is losing the struggle against the virus as he hangs upside down from the ceiling and transforms into a bizarre oozing cocoon. The residents instantly knock him down, but that is the extent of their concerns. The lightning-fast, bright thing from earlier rushes out of the traps and starts following the others down in the basement. One of the children walks through the corridors before Do-sik appears with his weapon, ready to fire. Below, the group gets into a car and drives away as monsters approach them. Jae-hun and Jae-soo work together, and Eun Hyuk drives. Gil-seov grabs his flamethrower and burns the monsters. Upstairs, Eun-yu rallies the troops, telling them they must work together and set traps to stop the attack. Do-sik tries his best to keep the thing on top of him at bay, but a sharp tentacle impales his leg. With a burning weapon in hand, the group burns the creature long enough for Do-sik to escape and Han-soo to rush in and electrocute it with his spear. After saving their lives, the group is more thankful of Han-soo, and they apologize for initially locking him up. Meanwhile, Uri talks with Sang-wook, who finally allows her to treat his wounds. He's in a bad situation. He lowers his shirt to see the scarlet mass of blood and green tape. Afterward, the group all sits down to eat, but Han-soo and Sang-wook separate themselves from the rest of the residents. Gil-seov joins them, though. He proudly displays the scar across his stomach and attempts to connect with it. It appears to work as the two sit cross-legged and eat. With the water tank compromised, Everyone realizes they have a severe problem. Down in the basement, Yeon Hyuk and Do Sik inspect the damage to their car and devise a plan to get outside and gather resources before it's too late. Sungwon panics and begins yelling madly and complaining about his situation, but Gil-seeb manages to calm him, and Sang-wook responds with a punch. While everything is going on, the troops release Jae-kyung from her torment. She's informed that those who survived the monster infection are called as special infectees. Back at the apartment complex, everyone comes together and executes their plan as all of our residents prepare to go outside. Jae-soo plays her guitar while Hyun-soo listens. Jae-hun drinks soju while Sang-wook apologizes to Sung-won for hitting him. Unfortunately, Jae-soo takes a turn for the worse not long after and collapses. It turns out she has appendicitis. She needs surgery, and with very little in the way of sterile equipment or a doctor on scene, things look bleak. IRA volunteers to help those the group prepare for surgery. Outside the room, Yeon Hyuk warns Han-soo that if things go sideways then he's to head off and get the resources they need. The group is essentially now split into two, with most of the residents hanging back to try and save Jae-soo. As Hyun-soo packs into the reinforced car, he recalls his childhood, which was filled with bullying and sadness. Despite the fact that the bullying stopped when his father stepped in, his old buddy blamed him for his problems, which led Han-soo to take a Stanley knife to his wrist. He was overflowing with regret and felt he had nothing to live for. In the present, Han-soo prepares to confront the outside world, but a massive monster bangs into the side of his car, knocking it over. Hyun-soo wakes up to see the towering monster, furious than ever. Gil-seeb tries to help by tossing a Molotov at the monster, resulting in nose bleeding. This monster looms over them both, and Gil-seeb is set to meet his end. Luckily, he survives when Jae-kyung rams it with a fire truck. The monster starts to topple the vehicle over and crush her. Sang-wook tries his best to pull Yuri from the truck, while Jae-kyung distracts the monster to allow the others to get to safety. With the monster severely burned, Jae-kyung repeatedly hits it with the fire engine and saves the day. Back inside, Jae-hun maintains watch while Yeon Hyuk finishes his procedure and leaves Jae-soo to decide her fate. With the threat outside gone, everyone returns inside, with Jae-kyung's fire truck providing fresh water for the group. Gil-seeb criticizes Yuri for leaving, despite the fact that Jae-kyung gave her with an inhaler. Meanwhile, Jae-hun goes back to old habits and continues to drink. Sang-wook has knowledge about monsters and convincing him not to give up hope. When Hyun-soo wakes up, Jae-kyung confronts him, asking when his first symptoms appeared. He tells her that he only wanted to live. It is undoubtedly ironic, because always tries to end his life. Jae-kyung finally admits to running into the soldiers and telling them about Hyun-soo, which explains the questioning. She then takes a shower, during which time guilt threatens to overtake her. The soldiers agree to let her go and tell more about Sang-won in exchange for delivering Hyun-soo to them. After giving her a tracker to pinpoint their whereabouts, they let her go, knowing that Hyun-soo may be the key to their survival. When Sun-young admits that she is sick, everyone unanimously agrees to keep her inside. Sun-young has left, so remaining residents tell each other horrifying stories. Unfortunately, an escaped soldier appears at the apartment building and starts trembling and coughing up blood. Hyun-soo talks frankly with Yeon-yu, who says she has given up ballet and teaches him her previous hand sign. This tiny gesture of compassion prompts Hyun-soo to begin cutting his hair. It's a symbolic gesture, representing him chopping away all of the pain and suffering he's experienced over the years. Jae-soo wakes up from surgery safely, but everybody is busy with more important issues. The soldier wakes up and we learn his name is Ju-song. He's totally shocked, and as his radio crackles to life, he becomes ever more erratic. Sang-wook and Hyun-soo realize that their SOS message may not be such a good idea and head up to let it go. On their way down, they notice a security guy in the elevator with a weapon. Hyun-soo runs down and attempts to stop him as flies swarm all over his face. Thankfully, Jae-hun is there to stop him as the two face off. Unfortunately, Jae-hun loses an arm in the fight. With the blade of his sword shattered, Jae-hun stumbles forward and grabs the security guy, stabbing him in the chest and keeping him away from the others. Sacrificing himself, he grabs him and keeps it at bay in the elevator as the others blow the flames in. As Jae-hun dies in the flames, Yeon Hyuk eventually does the same. She recalls Jae-hun's final words that he liked her. Jae-soo gets overcome with sadness as she sits against the wall, and Eun-yu appears and drops off some chocolates to attempt to lift her spirits. Given her previous problems, Jae-soo is clearly taking this death the hardest. Eun-yu is the only person who gives her the support she needs to keep going, encouraging Jae-soo not to be sad and giving over the severed sword. While Sang-wook pours a bottle of soju over Jae-hun's grave, Sun-young counts the days until she recovers from the infection's worst symptoms. Realizing they have no chance of defeating the monsters, Gil-Seeb suggests going out and seeking an underground shelter. Unfortunately, the moment for a move comes and passes as Jae-kyung considers utilizing her tracker. For the time being, she keeps silent as Gil-Seeb observes the vehicle approaching the apartment building. The vehicle rams into the front doors, unloading a swarm of men who kill the escaping soldier and begin hunting down the rest of the inhabitants. While they take Gil-Seeb away, he has kept the children safe in the vents. Unfortunately, all of the residents are locked in a makeshift prison on the bottom floor. A pencil outline is enough to keep them on track, especially when Jae-eun is shot to demonstrate what happens when those rules are broken. Their commander, Jung-seep, meets the others as we travel back in time to see what happened to this man. He displays remnants of the past, including a little chapel he discovered filled with bodies. As he laughs evilly, he informs them the humans are the actual monsters. With everyone trapped together, Jae-kyung and Sang-wook appear to be their last options for escaping. Jung-seep recruits Eun Hyuk to their cause while speaking with a captive Sun-young. He points a revolver at her and fires, presumably killing her right away. Jae-kyung and Sang-wook work together to kill 2 soldiers before seizing their gun and axe. They eventually make their move, and all hell breaks loose. The residents work together to take out the several soldiers one by one. Hyun-soo leads the attack in the main atrium, but when Jung-seep finally holds Eun Hyuk at gunpoint, everything comes to a halt. But Sun-young reappears and stabs Hyun-soo in the chest after killing another soldier. As Hyun-soo collapses to the ground, moaning in anguish, the other inhabitants watch in terror as a fire erupts and consumes Sun-young. With Hyun-soo carried away in a lift, Jae-kyung saves and frees the remaining residents. Unaware of the chaos below, Hyun-soo awakens to find himself on the rooftop. He begins crawling away, but Jung-seep shoots him again. Mutiny grips the criminals as one of the soldiers moves up and grabs Jung-seep around the neck, knocking him over the edge. It turns out Jung-seep was not the true leader after all. He was only the rabbit, but this person is the metaphorical wolf. Holding out a bleeding hand, he tries to make an offer with Hyun-soo just as a military chopper arrives with a leaflet about the virus. As the elevator descends, Hyun-soo prepares to greet the other residents. Hyun-soo arrives with the hooded person from the elevator. To their surprise, they encounter many weapons along the way. Hyun-soo instructs them all to surrender their firearms, confirming that the criminal is the same as him. Hyun-soo examines Sun-young's body and remarks that he was the one who fired the fatal gunshot. Afterwards, he sits with the leader and discusses his ordeal. He approached the authorities in search of a treatment, but they tried every experiment they could think of on him in an attempt to eliminate the virus. Despite all of this, they were unable to find a solution. As we then learn, the military has one more trick in its sleeve, Operation Golden Hour. Although they have not used it yet, if the military loses hope of ever finding redemption, they can shoot anybody on sight, human or monster. While they speak, Eun Hyuk and Hyun-yu consider what to do with the military leaflet, specifically whether to sell out Hyun-soo to save their own skin. But Eun Hyuk is convinced that it is a trap and attempts in vain to speak with Hyun-soo about it. He approaches to Jae-kyung, who shows him the tracker she has and has been thinking whether to use it or not. At the same time, Sang-wook snatches Yuri and rushes her to the main atrium after falling on the ground. The hooded thug knocks him down and prepares for a getaway. With the girl on his back, he heads out into the bush, surrounded by gunshots. Yuri and Sang-wook bear the brunt of it, but they aren't alone. Byung-il fires a fatal shot, and Jae-kyung's attempts to bombard him with machine gun fire do nothing to deter the threat. Hyun-soo has had enough and snaps, knocking him down, but he gets back up and sets up a fire outside. Hyun-soo succumbs to the virus, sprouting a wing where his arm once was. The two clash, but Do-sik is caught in the crossfire and sacrifices himself to protect Hyun-soo from his horrible fate. It appears to work, as the wings fall back and he returns to his human form. They fall into each other's arms crying. It's an important day, especially given Hyun-soo's lack of a father figure in his later years, and in some ways, Do-sik has filled that role. Now that he is gone, something inside Hyun-soo shifts and he appears to forget his memories. Outside, Jae-soo and Sang-wook exchange their final goodbyes before passing away. Meanwhile, Gil-seeb remembers a present left by Do-sik and delivers it to Soo-yeon and Young-soo. Yuri returns home after this act of kindness, only to discover that Gil-seeb has died while sleeping. As he is carried to the makeshift grave place, they discover an underground bunker as snow falls outside. The snow turns into a storm as the army approaches the apartment complex and threatens to swarm on them. All the survivors gather around a fire, trying to figure out what to do next. They asked Hyun-soo to stay, but he insists on going outside. Grenades explode in the bunker, forcing the soldiers to open fire on them. All of the residents run into the basement and begin looking for an exit. Only, Han-soo does not follow them. Yun Hyuk tries his best to stop Hyun-soo by stepping away from the group, but it is too late. Hyun-soo is too far gone. As Eun-Yusee's time is running out, the gate is shut firmly, and Yun Hyuk sacrifices himself for the cause in a final act of defiance to support his friend. As tears flow down his face and finally mix with blood as the building collapses, he opens Eun-Yu's Walkman and finds a photo of his family sewn back up, a symbolic move that indicates that he and his half-sister are back on the same page. Underground, Bam rejoins the others, bringing them to safety. They open the vents and return outside, looking at the changed world before them. With everyone joined together, they face an army of soldiers flashing weapons at them. Jae-kyung moves forward as their commander admits she did not touch the button and their deal is not yet ended. Without much option, everyone gets onto a vehicle, heading for the survival camp. Jae-kyung doesn't join them, but tells them all to survive. Han-soo, beaten and wounded, heals enough from his wounds and opens his eyes. Sang-wook is staring back at him from the truck. But that's where this video ends. Let me know if you want me to continue this series in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.